Waiting, connecting. Hey, we did it. All right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging in there. I apologize for our technical deficiencies, but here we are. We are going live with Gavin. Welcome, Gavin. Sorry, that was a little start restart. We just had a little extra warm up.
It's because you said I was from Australia to begin with.
Oh shoot, I'm so
That's
sorry. You're
what
right. I think you were in Australia. My apologies. That's where we got all messed up. Well, so Gavin, tell me a little bit about you. I have you on. Tell me who you are. I'm the PGA president. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Suzy Whaley. The PGA of America is 29,000 men and women across the globe, as well as in the United States, that work in the golf industry, and I represent all of them. Gavin, tell me a little bit about you.
Well, I work for David Ledbetter. I head up the Ledbetter Kids program globally for David, and that involves a lot of coach education and player development. And I'm also in the midst of this phenomenal initiative that we're going to have a little bit of a chat about today.
Yeah, no, we're excited about that. And for all of you watching, we hope you're safe and you're well. And if you're playing golf, you're doing it at a social distance safe manner. We know we all love our golf courses and those great open spaces, and all of us looking back to get to the game, but we want to do it really respectfully and safely. And to any of you who have suffered through your families or friends, you know, our hearts go out to you and continue to pray for you. But Gavin and his team, a group of PGA professionals from around the world, have put together what I want to share with you today, which is the world's biggest golf lesson to raise money for charities around the world. So we want to chat with you a little bit about that, but we're going to throw in a little coaching as well. For those of you who are in the game and those of you who have juniors in the game, you don't want to tune out because it's going to be amazing information from Gavin. So Gavin, tell us first a little bit about Tuesday. No, excuse me, about May 5th, not Tuesday.
Yeah, that's tomorrow.
That is tomorrow.
Tuesday.
Oh my gosh, Australia Tuesday. You could tell I've been on way too
I
many
know.
lives, right?
You're just excited to play golf, aren't you? So it's like,
Oh, tell us about tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. So we were literally just talking on a Zoom call about 3 weeks ago, and we were just trying to find ways to engage PGA professionals, coaches around the world. We kind of felt that the industry was suffering a lot because so many coaches certainly are self-employed. So many had been furloughed. So many then were actually made redundant. So we wanted to do something to bring the community together, but also to show how coaches and professionals can actually begin to re-engage with their clients, customers, and members. So we thought, you know, Instagram Live was becoming quite popular, people chatting with each other. And so we thought, well, why don't we do something where we all teach at the same time and see how we can engage more people into this. And before long, we kind of escalated it up to trying to teach 1 million people in one afternoon. So that's what our goal is tomorrow.
Well, that's amazing. So what we're trying to do, everybody out there, is we're trying to teach 1 million of you on the same day at the same time, where we have PGA professionals from around the world going on their Instagram live feeds and giving what type of lesson are we doing here, Gavin?
So we're just looking for professionals to deliver a really simple 15 to 30 minute putting lesson. We kept it at putting because it can be done indoors or outdoors. So if it's raining outside, folks can come in. Of course, so many of us in this country around Europe are locked in. There isn't much coaching going on in the States as much as you might have started playing in many areas today. So we felt that was the easiest thing for people to get engaged with. I'm expecting when we see some videos tomorrow, people putting with their broomsticks and stuff.
Well, I love that. So for those of you that have a coach, reach out to your coach and ask if they're going to do an Instagram Live. And if they've registered for the world's biggest golf lesson, they need to register by tonight. For those of you who maybe have never been to a PGA professional or a golf coach, we welcome you. My Instagram Live, I will be doing a putting lesson. My Instagram is at Mama Whales, MAMMAWHALES. Gavin can share his with you. I'm sure Gavin's doing a putting lesson too. But look for your local professional as well to be being a part of that. And then for those of, that's for free, obviously. People can hop on and watch that. But if people have the ability to do so, tell me a little bit about how you're helping with this COVID-19 challenge for many around the world, and how that's going, how these lessons are going to impact communities.
Yeah, I think you know, there's a lot that we can do to help. And first of all, I wanted us to all come together as one community, one golfing community that just not only has the opportunity to raise money for different charitable causes, but just to come together and actually say thank you for those that are putting themselves at risk, and for those that are tirelessly working on the front line at this time. But we also understand that there are so many people affected by this, largely in financial terms. And we want to have the opportunity to help them as well. And I'm really passionate about the Relief.Golf fund that the PGA has set up. And I think it's a great thing for us to support that, and to encourage professionals and coaches around the world to have that as their chosen charity, as well as the other frontline health charities that we have, that we've got on board as well.
Yeah, so if you're out there and you're someone who has the ability, it's a very challenging time to ask anybody for money, but if you have the means and you can do it, Relief.Golf is for industry professionals. So that's golf course superintendents, caddies. It's for PGA professionals and LPGA teaching professionals, some mini tour players, National Golf Course Owner Association. You know, that's in the States. And then of course, if you're not in the States, and or even if you are and you want to donate to a different charity, you'll see when you go to the world's biggest golf lesson.com, you'll see the options that you have to donate if you're able to do so. If you're not, we just want you to join us for a great putting lesson with a coach. We want to make you a little better, make you have a little more fun on the golf course. So, you know, I can't thank you enough, Gavin, for putting this together. What an inspiration. You're empowering all of us as PGA professionals. I think what we love to do best is give back. We raise $4 billion for charity a year at our local facilities. And that certainly has been impacted by COVID, and many local charities are going to be impacted by us not participating in golf in the same way. So this is a wonderful way for us to be able to contribute back to those who love to be at our courses, who love to be a part of the game alongside with us. It gives us great purpose. And we're trying to get to 1,000 coaches. So if there's coaches out there that haven't registered yet, please register before tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern time, to be a part of this amazing lessons to 1 million people. I just think that's so cool. And I can't wait to be able to say that we taught 1 million people at the same time on the same day. We have 29,000 PGA professionals out there. I hope you'll be able to find one in your area, or an LPGA professional in your area, to take a lesson from tomorrow. But Gavin, while we have people watching now, let's give them a little taste of perhaps what they might hear about tomorrow. So you're a world-class teacher of junior golf. So parents, you know, sit up in your chair, and if you have a junior golfer and you want some great tips, and coaches as well to learn from, Gavin's your guy. He's running all the curriculum for the Ledbetter junior program, again, globally. So Gavin, give us a little taste of, you know, kind of your core values at the Ledbetter, during the Ledbetter system that you have. I know there are so many different variant places, but I'm sure you have a unified message for your coaches and your junior programs. Talk a little bit about those core values with us.
Yeah, thank you. It's an exciting time, because it's a fairly new initiative that we've been working on now for well over a year. And the Ledbetter Kids program there's two parts to it. The first part is educating coaches and giving them the tools and empowering them with all the skills that that they need to be able to deliver a great junior program. And a great junior program is about a child-centered program, a program that really focuses on the needs of each individual athlete. So although you'll do a fair amount of group coaching, it's having the ability to really pinpoint what each child within that group really needs, and understanding then how to communicate those messages to those kids, and really giving them the opportunity to really fall in love with the game. And so much of what we want to help coaches with is their ability to develop a culture, and of course create an environment where development can absolutely thrive. And there's so many parts to that. It sounds very simple, but it really isn't. And you have to implement strategies over a long period of time. You've got to experience a lot of things to actually understand how to deal with every single type of child. And, you know, kids don't necessarily have learning styles. You know, what we have to do as coaches is deliver a certain message or the same message in a multitude of different ways, because depending on what the message is, a child will pick up on that in a certain type of way. And we like to help coaches with that and have them understand that. And then, of course, it's absolutely the necessity, the vital necessity that that we all must have to engage the parents of the kids that we teach, because the one thing that is absolute is that we will never have more influence over those children than the actual parents, right? So we might as well just put our hands up and say, okay, I'm not going to be able to push those parents away, and indeed, why would I? I'm going to have to bring those parents in, put my arms around them effectively, and welcome them into the journey that we're trying to create for the children within our academy. And we want the parents to complement what we coach, so that they are very supportive. And the car journey home is a topic that's often raised, and we want that message when the kids get back in the car to be really positive, supportive, and absolutely consistent with what the coaches have been delivering.
And let me tell you, so I've been coaching a long time. I'm not going to say how long because I will age myself, but I have two daughters. My husband is also a PGA professional, and we coached our two daughters up until a much later point in date where we decided we wanted to be mom and dad. So I'm here to tell you, I've been a coach and still am a coach, and I'm also a golf parent. And I can tell you how difficult it is to be a golf parent. You watch your child make a mistake that you think is obvious. You watch them 3-putt for the 5th time, and you're thinking, oh my, how could you possibly do that again? And you're showing these mannerisms that you think you're not showing, and your children are all eyes on you the whole time. Don't ever think they don't know where you are or what you're feeling or what you're doing. So we came up with this just thumbs up if it was good, and if it wasn't good, just keep walking, right? And then the car ride, to your point, home was really more, I found it very quickly. It was far easier to start a conversation with my own children by saying something like, boy, it's such a joy for me to be able to walk with you and watch you play, right? That's it. Nothing else, no commentary, no comments on what occurred during the round that you think was absolutely ridiculous, that you know they'd worked on for 2 weeks, so messed it up. Because at the end of the day, all that gets back to you is a negative, or what do you mean what happened? Maybe I just didn't do it right, or it's never going to be a great ride home. And oftentimes when you just say, boy, I really love to watch you play, it'll be silent for a little bit, and then you'll find at the next traffic signal, they'll say, hey, gosh, you know, I really played 6 pretty awful today, didn't I? Right. And it gives you an opening to say, well, let's talk about that. No, don't say, yes, you played it awful. Right? But, you know, let's talk about that. You know, what was your plan, or what was your strategy? What was your intention on 6? And when they walk through it, they may actually come up with a solution themselves, which is the best, because self-learning is what gets them farther ahead so much quicker than a coach telling them or a parent telling them. But it has to be a partnership. And please remember, it's a marathon. If your child at 11 makes a 9, I'm here to tell you that I made an 11 when I played on 4. It's going to happen again. It's not going to be the only time, and it's not going to be the only time that mistake. And they're going to have really rough rounds, and they're going to have amazing. Yeah. The parent can kind of stay pretty level, excited obviously when they have success and cheer that on. But the constant, oh, you're great, you're so great, you're so great, that is not helpful. The constant, you didn't do what I told you, didn't do it, I told you, didn't do it, I told you, that's not helpful. Just try to stay in the middle and realize you want them, I hope, to play the game for a lifetime. You know, that's what became the goal for my husband and for me. And we ended up with one professional golfer out of that. And both.
You know, you've got, it's really interesting because we've got exactly the same dynamic.
Yeah. So
my eldest is a professional golfer, and the youngest will go into probably sports performance coaching. He's a good golfer too. But, you know, it's the one thing that I wish I was better equipped when I was a young parent to know what lay ahead in the journey. And we address this with our parent education that we are releasing in the very, very near future. And if there's one thing I could say to parents is, look, you are going to go through failure with your child. And if we can prepare parents for that and actually say, look, you know what, this is an absolute vital part of the journey. You can't escape it. It's going to happen. Then you know what?
It's hard.
It is. It rips you right here. And I caddied last year at Q School for my eldest and the year before. And on both occasions, we were in great position and then made some mental mistakes. And you use those, these things are part of the journey, right? Even now, he's 22. The round of golf he plays tomorrow is not going to define the golfer he becomes. And that's really important as a junior golfer. Whether they're 13, whether they're 8, the round they play tomorrow will not define who they become. And you have to understand that what they do go through tomorrow is an integral part of their journey that they have to fall in love with. And we have a saying in our camp, which is, the journey is the dream.
Yeah.
Not the destination. You have to love it.
Yeah. And I use Kaizen, right?
Yeah.
So, I think, listen, there are parents who really push their children who have been successful doing so. There are parents who have stepped away entirely and their children have just been self-driven and done well. So we're certainly not here stating, what's best for your child. That's imperative to your first comment, Gavin, that, parents obviously have the most influence. What we are here to say is we're your partner in this.
Yeah.
Professionals strive to be the best partner possible for you as a parent and for you as a junior golfer. So junior golfers, I saw a junior golfer from Hong Kong is on, so welcome. If you're a junior golfer, the message might be a little different. You need to be self-driven. You need to work hard. You need to be determined, and you need to have some grit. You need to fight for competition. And there's days where it's not going to go your way. And those days where it doesn't go your way, you need to assess it. You need to figure out, where can I work a little bit better and a little bit smarter? Was it my attitude? Maybe your golf swing was fantastic that day. Did your golf swing performance? Because you can look at tour professionals, they all hit it great. Their club head speed's all over 108. There's no problem with distance. They all putt great. They wouldn't be there. So what is the differentiator between that 2 shots under every round, 4 shots under versus even? A lot of times when you talk to really elite professionals, it's attitude and it's how they bounce back. So learning that at a young age, I think, is so important. Learning that your golf score does not define you is incredibly important. Golf is a game. That's it. Golf is a game.
Exactly.
Some people make a heck of a lot of money at it.
Yeah. You touched on it. Sorry, you touched on it before. For me, where my son's 22. I fully believe on the journey and the pathway that he's on. It's been a challenge almost every single step of the way. But what has actually transpired in the last 2 or 3 years is actually how strong our relationship as dad and son is, and how much now that's protected for the future because of how we've interacted. And that means more to me than any success that he will ever have. And the 3 of us together love going out to play together. We have a good laugh. We obviously quite competitive, but it's something that we can do for the rest of our lives. And I love that with golf. And even when I'm coaching and people say, oh, have you got the next Tiger Woods in your class? I'm like, you know what? I don't really care if we have the next Tiger Woods in our class. As long as every single one of these kids is playing golf when they're 30, then we've done our job. And that's really important because they'll have fallen in love with it for a lifetime and will have protected the future of the game. And that's kind of what our emphasis has to be with a holistic approach to coaching that we instill really at a very young age for these kids. So it's very active. There's lots of mental lessons as much as with the younger kids. Those are indirect. We don't sit them down and say, well, here is the lesson on responsibility. It happens in a much more practical sense and over a period of time. And certainly coaching is about repetition, isn't it? You keep reinforcing the message, you deliver it in different ways, and you know and have the belief as a coach that what you're telling the kids is absolutely the right thing, and you're there to nurture them through their journey with an arm around their parents as well, and everybody's working in the same direction.
Yeah, it's so true. And I love that you have a coaching model and not just a teaching model. And, oftentimes we're called teachers, but I believe we're both. We're teachers and we're coaches. We deliver But coaching is that holistic approach that you're talking about. I also think it's changed, and for parents it's changed. You know, when I used to go to a driving range and hit balls, I would stand there for a half an hour, and hit through the balls and keep my attention fairly focused. I'm not going to say totally focused as a child, but fairly focused, because that's what we did, right? We didn't have screens. We didn't have things distracting us. It was time on the range. You know, today it's a very different environment for children and for adults. And I think as you're coaching your children alongside of a PGA professional or an LPGA professional, you have to realize that they're not accustomed to standing in the same place very long. They're not accustomed to attention focus very long. So it has to be fun and engaging. So, you know, for us here, we do a ton of stations. We do a ton of learning through play game. And when I say playing game, I don't just mean for little ones. I mean for all the way through up until collegiate, right? Where you're building cool opportunities for them to learn skills, but they're moving around, where we're doing functional movement skills. We're making sure that athleticism is part of this, and body function, you know, sequence of motion. Obviously, we want kinematic sequence, kinetic sequence. And PGA professionals can make sure they're doing that with your children as they grow. And that's incredibly important in junior golf, that we're not ahead of ourselves for the child that's standing in front of us, for the biomechanics that are important as the longevity of the game continue. So, you know, we're constantly moving. So if you bring your child to the range and you're expecting them to hit the large bucket of balls in sequence without interfering in your session, or without chatting with their friend on their phone, and they go to their phone and you're getting aggravated, I'm going to tell you that's a losing battle. Instead, you know, make up some cool things, make up some opportunities for them to enjoy that. Get some apps on the phone that can track their progress and track their, they'll feel like they're on their phone when in fact they're actually working toward an end goal. So, I mean, those are just a couple things. But now I want you to dive in and give us maybe one of your fun games, maybe a putting. Give us a little taste of what you might do on your Instagram, maybe a great putting drill that
for the world's biggest golf lesson tomorrow, I've got two parts to my show, and the first part is going to be very, very much about junior golf and talking about my favorite drill. The second part, which I'll tell you about first, is going to be with a former Formula One world driving champion.
Oh, nice.
So he's a friend of mine, and he's absolutely bonkers about golf. And we think together that when he was playing in the Dunhill Cup 2 years ago as an amateur, in that, you know, it's a pro-am format, right? A bit like the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-am. But he holed what we think was a 120-yard putt. And it was on TV, so we've got it recorded, but we just didn't really know exactly how far it was. But we're going to go with that being the longest putt ever made. So for the world's biggest golf lesson, we're going to have the world's longest putterer.
Love it.
So that's going to be fun. But for the first half, we're going to be talking about my favorite game, because it's so appropriate for every age group, and you've got different phases to it. So it can be really easy, or it can be made much more difficult. It could be for short putts or for long putts. And you basically take two alignment sticks and you put them really close together like this. And then you put the ends at the edge of the hole. And then towards the back end of the two poles, you'll put the ball and you'll rest the ball on top of it. And so we call that the railroad, right? Okay. And all you're trying to do is to send the engine down the railroad tracks to the station, which is the hole. And that's the story we tell the kids. And what it does really well, and I love games where kids can discover and understand and figure things out by themselves. So I'll set the game up and I'll say, right, there's your putter, there's your ball, there's the railroad track, this is where you start from, off you go, figure it out. And I'll stand back and then I'll just watch them play the game. I'll watch them miss, I'll watch them hit it too hard, the train jumps off the railroad tracks. And after a period of time, just stood back watching, then we start to see them figure things out and start to make some changes. And that's when they get into this beautiful sweet spot of learning that I often refer to, where their brains become massive sponges, and then they start to be far more receptive to the messages that you want to communicate with them. So in this context, of course, we're talking about a swing path that's at impact heading down towards the target. And then you're talking about a club face that's pointing at the target at impact as well. And so when you talk about those two things, then after they've played the game for a little while, it suddenly makes sense. Whereas if you start talking about that before they've tried it, they're like, what are you talking about? you know, and they'll start daydreaming and they'll wander off and stuff. But in this context, I think it's great for them to experience. And then you can move the poles back. You can even move them back to like 30 feet away. And then for a slightly more advanced junior, they can point the poles at their breaking point or their aim point, and then they can obviously putt from there. But the great thing is that, you know, they've got to put a really good stroke on it in order for the ball not to bounce off the railroad. So from 30 feet away, the margin for error in terms of path and face are really, really small. So you've got to be really good and competent in your stroke to be successful at that. So it's a great game. We love it. And it's easy, so easy for kids to practice that at home. And it's easy for them to practice that by themselves when they get to the golf course. And I would recommend that they do that, you know, on a regular basis.
I recommend that for adults.
I want to see you try it.
Well, I would like to see adult. Maybe we'll do that online tomorrow. I'm going to try.
So just 2 alignment sticks.
Yeah. And then, you know, the one that I have that it mirrors that a little bit, but certainly not for square face contact to target, which I love about that for sure. But, you know, everybody has tees, right? So for younger children, I like to put the tees fairly far apart to teach how a ball curves, to teach slope. I mean, you're not going to use the term slope. You could, but it really has no point of reference for a young child. But just trying to get it through 2 tees on the aim point line becomes quite fun. And then you just need to move those tees closer and closer together.
Yeah.
I always put a big stick on the low side of the hole because that's where I want, you know, the ball I want it to stay high. So I don't want them hitting that stick on the low side being the side that's lower than the upper side around a cup, right?
Yeah.
So I want them on the high side. So I'm constantly trying to get them to understand that, understand slope and speed control, right? So always putting a little, I use tape, and I put a little square box right behind the hole. You can get that tape at pretty much any store or online. It's colorful. Kids love color. Don't forget to use color if you're training your children. But a little box behind the hole, and see how many you can actually get it to stop in that hole against them. That's even more fun because I haven't met a child that doesn't love to do better than their parent, even the non-competitive child.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give it a go. We'll show 1 million of you these drills tomorrow on Instagram Live, 9 a.m. East Coast time. Gavin, remind us, where does a coach sign up to participate?
So it takes 20 seconds to sign up, and we need every coach to participate if they can. worldsbiggestgolflesson.com. And then once you've signed up, you get a bunch more information that we send you just to prepare you for tomorrow. There's some great resources on the website for you to tap into information. There's a couple of videos on there. And if you're not particularly au fait with Instagram Live, there's a video on there that tells you how to Instagram Live. And of course, there's a little chat button at the bottom. If you have any questions, just punch in your question there, comes straight through to my phone, and I'll endeavor, if I'm not on Instagram Live, to get back to you immediately.
You know,
which is really cool.
IT guy for this too, right, Gavin?
You know, I am everything. I'm and I've got a great team of guys and girls that we work with. There's like 9 of us together, and we've worked tirelessly over 2.5 weeks to put this together. And to get the kind of traction that we've got globally cannot be underestimated. So I'm massively empowered by my team that we've got, and by the efforts that they've put into this. And it's a beautiful thing. I love